My hands were shaking the morning I realized I had fallen in love with the woman who lived across the hallway. It hit me as quietly as sunrise, not with fireworks or dramatic music, but with the gentle certainty of watching someone exist in your world day after day until they become the reason your heart beats differently. I never expected love to find me in the ordinary quiet of a small apartment building on a regular Tuesday morning. Yet there she was. Her name was Marin. She was my neighbor. Now, she is my wife. This is my true story. I was 29 when I moved into the narrow beige-walled apartment complex on the edge of the city. The building itself was unremarkable. It stood between a small grocery shop and a tire repair stand. The hallway smelled faintly of detergent and sun-dried laundry. I had just taken a job as a graphic assistant at a small marketing firm. It was not a dream job. It was what people called stable. I was recovering from a relationship that had ended in silence, confusion, and lingering disappointment. My heart had settled into a numb routine by the time I met Marin. I was not looking for anything. I did not think I had the space or strength left for love. Marin lived in apartment 3B. I lived in 3A. The first time I saw her, she was returning from the nearby farmer's market carrying a bag full of vegetables and fresh bread. Her hair was tied in a loose braid, and she wore a light green cotton dress that looked soft and comfortable. Her smile was warm, like sunlight filtered through clear curtains on a calm day. She looked like someone who grew happiness instead of searching for it. I nodded politely. She nodded back. Nothing extraordinary happened that morning, yet something shifted in the air. It was the beginning of something my heart was not prepared to name yet. Days passed. We crossed paths in hallways, near mailboxes, outside the building under daylight skies. She always greeted me with a smile that felt like an invitation to breathe more deeply. There was a gentleness about her presence, the kind that made ordinary moments feel meaningful. Still, I stayed silent. I told myself I should focus on work. I told myself love had already proven difficult and disappointing, so why try to begin again? One Sunday morning, I ran into her in the small shared garden behind the building. She was watering the rose bushes that another resident had planted years ago. The sunlight made her hair shimmer in a soft gold tone, and the roses looked more alive simply because she was near them. She asked if I had lived in the building long. I could hear warmth in her voice, sincerity without effort. That was the first conversation. A short one, nothing poetic or remarkable in words, but her tone held something that stayed with me. Our interactions grew slowly, like seeds taking root. We began to talk more, always during daytime hours, always casually. She told me she worked at a small community library. She loved organizing reading programs for children, helping elderly visitors find books that reminded them of their youth, and arranging small events that made the library feel like a gathering place rather than a silent building. Her joy did not come from grand achievements. It came from small kindnesses. I found that extraordinary, yet life is rarely without challenges. I struggled during that period. My job became overwhelming. I was constantly tired, constantly unsure of my future, constantly afraid that if I allowed myself to care too deeply again, I would break all over. I withdrew. I began avoiding conversations. I convinced myself I needed to protect my heart. Love could wait. Or maybe love was not meant for me. One evening, I returned home after a long day. The hallway was quiet except for the muffled hum of the ceiling fan. I felt heavy, like I was carrying a weight that had no shape but had a presence all the same. As I unlocked my door, Marin stepped out of hers. She saw my exhaustion before I spoke. She did not ask what was wrong. She simply asked if I would like to join her for tea in the courtyard. I hesitated, then agreed. We sat outside under soft daylight that was beginning to lean into late afternoon brightness. The garden was calm. I told her about my fears. Not everything, just enough. She listened. Not with impatience or forced empathy, but with real attention. Her quiet understanding felt like shelter. She shared a part of her story too. She had lost her mother a few years earlier. She had dealt with grief that came in waves. She told me healing was not about forgetting pain but learning how to carry life alongside it. Something changed in me that day. Her presence reminded me that connection was not something to fear. It was something human beings were made for. We began spending more time together. Walks to the grocery shop, conversations in the garden, shared meals on lazy weekend afternoons. Still, I told no one. I did not want to label what was forming. It felt fragile and sacred. Like a leaf that could tear with one careless move. Then came a turning point. One morning, I noticed that her car was still parked outside long after she usually left for the library. Later, I heard her coughing in her apartment. I knocked gently. She was pale and feverish. She insisted she was fine, but her strength was fading. I helped her to the clinic. I sat with her in the waiting room. I bought her soup. I stayed until she fell asleep on her couch. Caring for her showed me something my fear had blinded me to. Love was not only joy. Love was choosing to be present. Even when things were uncertain. As she recovered, we grew closer. Our relationship was not dramatic or fast. It was steady, unfolding like the pages of a quiet book that draws you in without you realizing. We learned each other's routines, fears, and small joys. She knew I liked to sketch in the mornings when the sunlight first entered my window. I learned she liked to read in the courtyard when the day was bright and warm. We grew naturally, like vines intertwining without force. Still, doubt lingered in me. One afternoon, I confessed my fears to her while we sat near the garden roses. I told her I worried I would disappoint her. I told her I worried love might fade. She listened carefully. She told me affection was not about perfection but about showing up, consistently and honestly. Her words stayed in me, like a guiding light. We continued like that for months. Life was not perfect. Work still drained me. Responsibilities still weighed on both of us. We had disagreements, moments of silence, times when our emotions tangled. Yet something important did not break. We respected each other's hearts. One summer afternoon, I realized I did not want to imagine a future without her. The sky was clear. The roses were blooming. She was reading on a blanket spread across the grass. I walked toward her and sat beside her. I took her hand. The moment was quiet, but my heart felt full. I asked her to build a life with me. Not in a grand speech. Just a simple, honest request. She smiled with tears in her eyes and said yes. Our wedding was small. Daylight filtered through simple white curtains. We stood among friends and relatives. There were no grand gestures. Only truth. Only gratitude. Only love that had grown step by step, carefully and deeply. Our life together has not been perfect. Life never is. We have faced hardships, uncertain times, challenges that tested our patience and understanding. Yet we have chosen each other every day. That choice is what makes love stronger than fear. The garden still blooms behind our building. The roses still grow. The same ones she watered the day we first spoke. They remind me how love can begin quietly and flourish into something beautiful.